So this hints development, I think you would have had in your school days. You remember? Yes, you would have had a few words here and there, phrases like actually. Not be complete, and you'll be having hyphens in between or dashes in between, and they'll be asking you to develop it into a story or maybe develop it into an essay. Yes, hope you just remember all that you have done. But we would have just done because they've just asked us to do. What we will do, we will try to read, we will understand in our own way, and we'll try to change everything there, and then we'll frame our own story, and we will give a title also to it, isn't it? So we are just going to see how we have to do it in the right manner and what is very important in this hints developing. Okay. Yes. People are still joining. Okay, so whenever you are given in hints developing, you are supposed to read all the hints thoroughly. So you have to read each and every hint. You're not supposed to leave any of the things. So you have to read each and everything. And you have to understand the tone of the passage. Sometimes it will be like a story, a sad story, or maybe a happy story, or whatever. You have to know the tone, whether it is of a high tone or an angry tone, or is that something of sometimes, some essays will be towards the society or towards the government, and they will be just rebuking them, or they'll be just complaining, they'll be angry towards it. Okay, it can be anything. So you must understand the tone of the passage. So only then you will be able to bring that tone in your developing passage. Okay, so that is why we are supposed to understand the tone of the passage. Then you have to use all the hints. We are not supposed to leave any of the things for our comfort. If you're not able to understand some of the words, what you will do usually, you will just leave it as such. I don't know what the meaning is, so let me just leave it off. So it should not be like that. You have to use all the hints, because that particular word would have brought a turning point in the story, or maybe it is the change that is there in the essay. We may not know it. So we have to use all the hints that are there given in the hints developing. And you have to arrange it sequentially, one after the other. Okay. So maybe if the story just starts from the house of a person and ends in the forest somewhere, then it should be in the same sequence. You cannot just change it from forest to house. The whole story will change then. Okay, you won't have any meaning for the story. Okay, so the sequence should not change again. It has to be arranged according to the sequence that is given in there in the hints. So you can just make 2 or even 3 paragraphs as it is required. If the story seems to be more lengthy, you need not put it in 1 para or 2 para. You can just go for another para. That is also allowed in your hints developing. Okay, you can just make as many paragraphs you want. And you have to take care of the tense that is there in the story or the essay. Okay, so they would have used some tense. You have to stick to that tense. So it might be simple present moving towards simple present continuous, or simple past. So it might be just moving from these 3. You must be very careful, and you also should maintain the tense. You shouldn't change the tense. Okay, so whatever is just given in the hints development, you will understand, because those verbs will carry the tense, and that tense should not be changed. Okay, so you have to stick to the tense. Then you can have so I have just spoken to you about paragraph writing. So in a paragraph writing, you will be just having an introduction, and you'll be having some explanation for the instance that you are giving, and then you will have your conclusion. So same way, this should be followed in every writing. So you have to just have an introductory paragraph, Okay, try to have an introductory paragraph or introductory line, and then the body and the conclusion. So this is how, if you just think about it, then maybe you will get the flow based on the hints. And if the hints is not cooperating with you to have an introduction, body and conclusion, please don't think about it at all. You just leave it, no problem. We have to stick to the hints alone. Okay, so if the hints it just gives you this possibility of just having an introduction, body and conclusion, then you can have. Then finally, in all the hints development, what will they ask? They'll ask you to give a suitable title, isn't it? So you have to think about the title. So how will you think about the title? When you just read the whole hints again and again and again, you will have an idea about the central thought or idea of that particular hints development, okay, or that particular paragraph. Then you can just frame a title from there. Okay, it can be an attractive title. Okay, it can be like a question, or it can be on the name of the main person said in the story, or it can be about the characteristics of the story, or it can be the moral of the story, anything. Okay, so based on that, you can just choose your title. So you have your freedom in choosing it there. Okay, so if here you just have an example. So please try this. I'll just give you 5 minutes. 5 minutes is not enough, I know, but still 5 minutes is, you try to find out the tense, okay, and then try to use all the hints and try to frame a story. This is a story actually. Okay, it's a familiar story, so that's why I'm just giving it to you. So try. Come on, I'll give you 5 minutes. You people, you didn't get the link in the Karanya online. You're just joining late. You're coming in the open source. You have to identify the tense and you have to let me know. Okay, so shall we just discuss? So what is the tense? You can just type in the chat box. You can also type the verbs that are just used with that particular tense. I'll just give you a clue. You need not have one particular tense in one tense developing. You can have more than one. Because see, this is a story. It just moves from one situation to the other one, and some would have just happened in the past, and some would have just happened in the present. All that is there in a story, isn't it? So you will have a variation in the tense, but you must be very careful. You are not supposed to change the tense that is just used in the tense developing. Yes, I'm just waiting for the answers. Are you people ready? What is the tense used? Am I audible? Because my internet is not that stable today. Am I audible? People? Am I audible, ma? Ryan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, then tell me what tense is used there. See, you're just wasting your time.
Present.
Present tense? Okay, tell me the verbs that has used present tense. Hmm. Any other answer? Okay, so to identify the tense, you have to just go through one after the other. Okay, it just starts with sleeping and playing. So the tense is not that clear here because just the continuous tense is used. We do not know whether it is present continuous or past continuous. But when you just move to the next hint, you can understand that it is strictly past continuous because you have threatened, asked, promised, laughed, caught, and heard, escaped, thanked. Can you see that? So all are in past tense. So if all these are in past tense, then this also should be past continuous. Okay. So you have to start with simple past tense and simple past continuous. Okay. So now this should be the result of your hints developing. I don't know whether you have written in this manner. And someone just read. Saro Kumar. Yes, can someone read? What happened today? All ISDF and DSA are sleeping in the class. Wake up. It's not the time to sleep. Okay. So this is your answer. I have just posted it in the chat box. Just check the tense and check that all the hints will be used. So this is how you have to write your or develop your hints. Okay. I'm just moving to the next part. Next is story narration. We have seen many about short stories, okay, how it has to be used and all. Yes. So a small tip about what is story narration. So narration, when do you narrate a story? For a book, you just narrate a story for a book. And sometimes some people will be just asking for stories, so you just narrate a story. Okay. Usually stories are narrated. It is not told, it is narrated. What is the difference between narration and telling? What is the difference? Narration will be very lively. Okay. So narration will be in such a manner that you can feel all that is happening in the story as if it happens before your eyes. Okay, so it is just like a visual that you are just no visual that is just said in words. Okay, so when it is narrated, you can just feel that the incident or the event or the characters that you are talking about comes live before your eyes. Okay, you may not see with your physical eyes, but your mental eyes will be just seeing everything. Okay, so that is the speciality of this narration. Okay, it might be written way of narration or spoken narration. It is just like a commentary. Okay, it just goes on live and it conveys some or the other story to an audience. So for story alone, we just use this narration. For some incidents, for some events, we just use this narrative technique. And this narration is usually conveyed by a narrator. Okay, only a narrator does this. And he's a person who is just in charge of the story, the one who writes the story or the one who creates the story. Okay, or it might be a specific person or a character from the story who is just narrating it. If it is a written form of narration, then it can be a person from the story also. Or we can even have an unspecified literary voice. Sometimes the voice will be from somewhere else. Okay, so that also is just allowed. A third person or someone who is just viewing this story is just narrating it. Okay, so that also is possible. So it is developed by a creator of a story. And why is it developed? It is developed to deliver some information to the audience. Okay, so it just speaks about the plot, the story. Okay, or how it just happens and what happens, where it happens, how it happens. So all the five W's will be just explained there. Okay, so that is story narration. So hope you have just got some information about hints developing and story narration. For story narration, I have given you a separate word format. So from there also you can have some notes. Okay. So we'll move on to the next one, note making. Okay, so when do you do this note making? I've already instructed you people how you have to learn for your open book exam. So for open book exam, you just take notes. That is the ideal way of doing it, but you people don't do it. Okay, so what are you supposed to do? You have to just collect all the materials given by your staff, and you are supposed to read it, underline, and then take notes, and then develop your notes, and then keep it for your open book exam. But we never do it, isn't it? That is the right way of making notes. Where else you will be just making notes? When you just attend a conference, you feel like noting down some of the points. What do? You just take notes. When you just read some books and you think that this is something which you like the most, or you want to keep it in mind, or you want to share it with somebody, then you take notes and you keep it with you. Okay. When you read an article also, sometimes you get some information which you want to store it for the future purpose. Then what you can do, you can just take notes. Okay, so note making is nothing but noting down of useful concepts and points. So whatever is useful alone, you will be just noting it down, not everything. And it is just based on what you want. Okay, what you want to do in the future, or what you want to do in the present. Based on that, your note making will appear. For example, if you have a business meeting and you are there as a secretary, uh, watching the meeting, and there is a fight in the meeting, you need not take down all the words they use during their fight. But when a point is just discussed, some people will agree and some people will disagree. So that has to be just taken down. Okay, after note making only, you can just go for your minutes writing. So note making helps you to just frame or put your notes together and form a report or a minutes. Okay, so in a meeting, you must be very careful to just pick out the necessary details and not the unnecessary details. Okay, then you have to just record the essence of information. What is the important information? That alone can be noted, not everything. It helps to understand and clarify thinking. So why is this notes taken? Because when you just just keep this in mind. Now I'm just teaching you about note making, and you people are just sitting simply, or maybe you're just sleeping, or maybe you're doing some other work, or I don't know what you're doing. You are not listening. And later when your exam comes, if you're just going through your note making slide, you'll not be able to understand anything, because you did not listen to anything. But just see the other see in the other way. You have some people really who are interested in the class, and they are just listening to what I'm saying, and they're just taking notes, because there are few points in the slide and I'm giving you more examples, I'm giving you more explanation, which has to be just taken down. If you are not taking it down, then you will not be able to understand. If you take it down, when you read for your exam, you can just refer to the notes that you have taken, and you will understand, okay, so this is what this particular point means. So it gives a clarity in your thinking. It helps you to understand better. Okay. Through note making, what we can do is we can save time and we can gain more information. So this also is possible through note making. So we'll just see some of the uses. I have just already said what are the uses. So it has great importance in exams. That too, in your MCQ exams, you need this. And in academic writing also, it is of more use. It is an organization of main points for future use. So we just make it organized just to use in the future. Note making helps in keeping the information handy. Whenever we require, we can just take it and then we can make use of. It helps in recollecting and recalling the past events said or heard. So some meeting has just taken place or some incident has taken place. If you have just taken notes, you can just go back in at any point of time. You can just go back and just remind everything. It helps in concentrating, understanding, and it also provides a permanent record. So you will have a record for everything. If you just attend a meeting and if you are just going to report it, you will have those reports as a record. So that is what they are talking about. So note making format helps a writer to go through bulky documents quicker. So just imagine you have big documents, and you cannot just go through it each and every time, all 100 and 150 pages, you cannot just go through. If you just have a note for 20 pages, then maybe it will be easy for you to just go through it. Okay. So it helps in understanding a material if the notes are in our own words, because we would have understood it and we would have taken it. So that will be more easier to understand than the original document. And it also gives us the difference between the main points and details. So when you just take notes, you will understand how the main point and the details are organized and how it just goes on. So that difference can be just seen when you take notes. So this is the format. So you can have a heading and you can also have a subheading, and then you can have some points at each. Then you can go for subheading, and then you can have some keynotes, keywords. So this is how you can just organize your note making. If it is so official, this is how you have to be. If it's unofficial, it's not needed, but still, if you just follow this, it will be organized, and when you just go back, you will have an interest to just read your notes. Okay? So heading will be the title that you are going to discuss in this particular note making, or you're just going to take down in this note making. And subheading will be based on the subdivision topic that is just given. And then below this, you can just give other points if you have. Okay, and then subheading can be just given. So it can just say something about the category, types, advantages, etc. And finally, there can be some keywords. Okay. Great. So this will be the structure of your note making. This is how it will look like after you just complete your note making. See the indentation, how they have just done. It is just first is one indent, and then second is two indent, and then third is three indent. So you're just showing the difference between the points, subheadings, and subheadings, and you have subpoints and subheadings, subheadings. Okay, so all the difference can be shown through the tab that you have used. Finally, keywords, sometimes you would have used some abbreviations. So you have to give the expansion of your abbreviation. That is a must. Okay, so this is a procedure you have to follow. So maybe you're just taking notes from book. You have to read the passage that is just given to you. You have to read the passage, and you have to underline the important sentences, and then you have to make headings and subheadings, and then you have to put down your ideas and make a rough copy of it, and then you have to organize them in a logical or a sequential manner. You have to use the appropriate note making format. If it is official, you have to use it. So the format we have seen already, and we are not supposed to change any of the idea of the message of the passage. Sometimes what we do, we start giving comments about what the speaker has spoken or what the manager has spoken, and we will tend to change the idea. That should not happen. We are not supposed to change any of the thing there. So what are the points that we have to remember? We have to avoid using long sentences as heading or title. So for title, we should use short sentences, not long sentences. Never lose the main idea of the passage. Whatever you are writing or whatever notes you are taking, never lose the main idea. Ignore information which is less important. Be brief, clear, and specific. Use logical sequencing. Okay, all we have seen. So use proper indentation. I told you, the tab that you use. Leave no space to avoid confusion. No spaces in between. Do not include your own version or understanding. It's very important. Use abbreviations and make your note more memorable by adding colors, drawings, and symbols. Okay. So if you just use colors, symbols, and all, you can just keep it for a long time, and whenever you see, you will have more interest towards it. Okay, so that's why they're just asking you to use it. So because such as note making, you can use more abbreviations also. So you have different formats for note making. One is the normal way of writing, and this is split page format, where you can just have a narrative note. So you will divide the whole column into two, and then you can have it. And then next is the diagram or the pattern format, which is a visual format, where you can draw some diagrams and then explain the, you can put the ideas related to that, and then you can make it visually appealing. Okay, so people will be attracted towards it. And then mind map. Mind map also has all the important points and related points, like a map it will be. Okay, it will be in the shape of a tree with branches. Okay, some or the other visual effect will be given there. Then outline format is also there, where you just give only the outline, like the title, subtitle, the point alone you just give. And then question and prompt format. So sometimes you just imagine you are just listening to some motivational speech. So motivational speakers, what they do, they just raise some problem or question or issue, and they'll be just giving an answer for that, isn't it? Or you just think about a counseling session. There also they'll just ask a question and then they'll be just answering. So when you are just listening to such notes, what you can do is you can just raise a question in your mind, or if you are just attending a conference, you have few questions and you find the answers from the conference, then you can just write the question and then write the answer. So this is also another way of taking notes. So this will be more helpful when you just keep it for future purpose and go through it. Okay, so you can have a better idea about what you have listened in the conference or in the counseling session. Okay, yes. So we have just seen how what is note making, and we have also seen the uses of note making, what should be avoided and what should be just taken. We have seen the format for note making. This is the official format actually. So we have also seen the procedure. So how we have to start with, you have to read the passage, underline, make headings and subheadings and points, and then put your ideas together, and then you prepare notes. Okay, so this is how you just go. And you can also make it more attractive to just come back and read again. Okay, you can use abbreviations, colors, drawings, symbols. Okay, so that is how it just goes. And you've also seen some of the different formats of note making, like split page format, so which will be just divided into 2 columns, and you can just put your matters inside, and diagram pattern is there, mind map is there. Okay, and outline, just the outline alone will be there, and then question and prompt format is also there. So this, all these are visually appealing note making formats, and you can make use of any of these things when you listen to your major classes.